Imagine this. You're walking through a weekend market with your teenage daughter when suddenly she's cornered by a mob of church ladies screaming that she's unchristian and a failure as a sister. And all of it fueled by lies spread by your late ex-husband's parents. Lies so twisted they nearly tore your family apart. But here's the part they never saw coming. I had the receipts, and when I exposed them, their entire church turned against them. If you've ever been gaslit, shamed, or disrespected by someone who thought they could get away with it, then you're going to love this story. Stick with me, and if you're rooting for a mum who stood her ground, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's dive into one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll ever hear. I'm a 46-year-old mum with two daughters, 17 and 15. Last year, our lives shattered when my ex-husband died in a sudden accident. You'd think tragedy would bring families closer, but in my case, it ripped open wounds that had never healed. Because before his death, my ex had betrayed me. He cheated. He fathered two sons with his mistress. And when he died, she had already passed too, leaving behind two little boys and a mountain of drama. Now, my daughters, they're the ones who first uncovered his affair. They saw the messages, they saw the photos. They were the ones who broke down in tears and told me what their father had been doing. Can you imagine the guilt that carries? At 15 and 17, they felt like they had destroyed our family by telling the truth. That kind of trauma doesn't just vanish. And instead of protecting them, their grandparents, my ex's parents, did the opposite. They tried to wrestle custody away from me. They pressured my girls to take in the affair kids, guilt-tripping them, calling them selfish. And behind my back, they whispered to anyone who'd listen that I was cold, unchristian, and unworthy of being in the family. Fast forward to my youngest daughter's birthday. I wanted her to have a day of joy, so I gave her money to splurge at our local farmers market. Chocolate, sweets, whatever her heart desired. But then my phone rang, her voice cracked with terror. "Mom, some women won't let me leave. They're yelling at me. My blood ran cold." I sprinted through the market with my oldest by my side, and what I found still makes my skin crawl. 6 older women, faces tight with self-righteous fury, had cornered my crying 15-year-old. They accused her of being unchristian for refusing to spend time with her grandparents. They sneered that she was a terrible sister for not embracing her poor orphaned baby brothers. I shoved myself between them and my daughter. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears, but my voice cut sharp. Back. Off I ordered my oldest to take her sister's purchases and head to the car. Meanwhile, the mob of women, some of whom I recognized from my ex-in-law's church, turned their venom on me. They called me a disgrace. They said I should obey my ex-husband's parents like a good Christian wife. Newsflash, he was dead, and we were divorcing before that. The bile in my throat nearly choked me. The shouting escalated until the market staff asked us all to leave. Even then, the women followed me out, trailing like vultures as I hurried my daughters into the car and drove away. That night, after my girls cried themselves to sleep, I logged on and messaged a friend from that church. He apologized profusely and then told me the truth. My ex-mother-in-law had posted a sob story in the church's Facebook group. According to her, my daughters and I had left her and her husband penniless, homeless, heartbroken. She claimed we cruelly ignored them and rejected their grandsons. And the kicker? She rewrote history to hide her son's cheating. She told everyone the other woman wasn't a mistress at all, but our surrogate. That I, out of some sick, selfish hatred of boys, refused to raise the children. I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled. Because in that moment, I realized something. I had the truth. Every ugly, undeniable piece of it. Receipts. The next day, I gathered my arsenal, photos of my ex and his mistress wrapped up in each other, in our living room, texts between them, dripping with betrayal, messages from his parents admitting they knew and supported the affair, And the worst, texts where his parents bullied my daughters, calling them bastards, blaming them for his death because they had exposed his cheating. Messages sent just days after his funeral. I printed everything, paid extra for glossy, high-quality pages. Then, like an artist with a brush, I crafted personalized binders. On the cover, hymn-style song packets, the kind their church handed out every Sunday. But when you opened the first page, boom, a crystal clear photo of my ex and his mistress kissing. Underneath, the love story of ex's name and mistress's name. Sunday morning, I walked into their church. My hands were steady, my heart calm. I slid the binders onto the back desk, where the hymn packets sat for anyone who forgot theirs. Then I left, and I waited. The gossip mill ignited like wildfire. My phone buzzed non-stop with updates. Church members were horrified. My ex and his mistress became the town scandal. Words so vicious were thrown around that even the pastor had to step in to tone it down. And my ex-in-laws, the very people who had shamed my daughters, they were suddenly pariahs. Members turned on them, furious about how they had treated my girls. But the cherry on top, people still tried to paint me as the failed wife, yet even they admitted, after what I'd endured, that my ex and his Jezebel were the real sinners. Within days, my daughters received apology letters. One family even invited us to join the church for support. As for my ex-in-laws, they slunk away, humiliated. My ex-mother-in-law made a final Facebook post about how no one cared for the elderly anymore, how she wished her great son was alive to take care of her. Irony at its finest, since I was always the breadwinner. In the end, their lies backfired spectacularly. They tried to weaponize shame, guilt, and religion against two grieving teenagers. Instead, they were exposed by their own hypocrisy in front of the very community they thought would protect them. My daughters saw it all. For the first time since their father's betrayal, they saw justice. And that relief, that healing, that was worth every second. Sometimes revenge isn't about destruction, it's about truth. About finally being heard when people try to twist your story. And when the truth comes wrapped in hymn packets. Let's just say karma can be pretty poetic. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? Don't forget to subscribe for more stories where justice finally wins. Until next time, remember, never underestimate a mom protecting her kids.